amazing people. Hope you all are here. You all are ready. And I guess it's going to be in here shortly. I'm sure we're going to have a great time together. We'll definitely have a great time together. I love talking about money because we need money for a lot of things. And of course, even the word of God says money has read all things. Okay, so I'm hoping that some more people are going to be coming in. StreamYard actually makes it hard for us to get the comments right, and I hope that we can actually get this on. We're talking money. We're going to be talking money today, and I hope that this is going to bring you smiles and laughter. Of course, as you all know, I'm the king of hearts and laughter. Yeah. So I hope this is going to bring you laughter. This is the money game. It was already in here, but kind of lost him. Got this on me. Who's in here? If you're in here, just give us a little peek on right on the skin. Sorry about this. Yeah, I'm trying to see why this is not I still can't see our list. I don't know what's going on. I hope this is right. I do not have any Okay, so today we're going to be talking money. So you all know there are basics that we need to know about money. We get to educate ourselves on a lot of things, but most of the time, we forget to educate ourselves on money issues. We forget that learn to do this or that. This we all learn how to make money, not only make money, but make money work for us. Because a lot of times we're just always good at making money, but we're not good at learning how to make it work for us. So I'm hoping that our guest is going to be coming in shortly. Let's trust that he'll be here in no time. And if you're right here, please go ahead and share us out, and also comment in the live stream so we know you're in here and you're with us all the way. So let's see those who are in here. Just put a comment in the chat, and I'm doing all to share us out some more so we have many more people come on in here. Oh my, that is gonna be like copyright. I hope not. I hope not. I hope not. I hope we don't get copyrighted. It's time. It's time, people. Let's fix that. I can't see our guest. I don't know why that is happening. Okay, so while we're waiting on our guest, like I said, I'm going to be giving you my testimony about what happened to me. So I got to meet him like last year. I got to know him last year, and it changed my financial situation forever. Like just the little tips that I learned from him that he gave me, and I used them just as much as he told me to, and it changed my life forever. Like I said, last year and this as well have been the years that I've really had many more responsibilities than ever, but I've saved, I've invested, and I've done many more things. So imagine me having much more responsibilities. The amount I'm earning didn't change, but I've been able within that amount, using the little tips that he gave me, the money tips that he gave me, to do a lot more. So it's amazing. It's just totally and completely amazing. So I'm hoping that we all can also get to that point where we get all these details. It gives us all this amazing information, and we can use it and change our lives and the life of our loved ones as well. Because when we're financially viable, when we have a great financial future, we only don't reduce the burden on ourselves, but also on our loved ones, because they won't be suffering on how to go about all that they have to go about if you're not there anymore. We don't pray for that, but there are possibilities. We all know that. Oh, sorry, people. There are possibilities of things happening that we don't want them to. Okay, so we're waiting for our guest to come in. So you all can get ready. And when he just comes in, we're just starting. And of course, I've been following some of the trainings that he does and all that. So that also has been helping me. When you hear other people's testimonies about things that have happened to them, and then you see people, so you all know who I am. You all know Princess Clayton, and if Princess Clayton is testifying, it's real and it's relatable. Unlike if they're just showing you someone that you really don't know, you basically have nothing to do with, you've never related with that person, it's kind of hard to get it right. So I actually had to do this because I've experienced it and I know that it's real. So I'm not just saying it out of um, say. I'm actually one person who has done it and it's working for me. And I'm sure if I continue in it, it's going to give a very big change. So I'm hoping that you all can get all you can get from him today. Ask as many questions as you can, and I'm sure we're going to have a great time together. So we're waiting for Mr. Pius to show up, and he was in the studio a while ago. I don't know what's happening. Sometimes we get the network acting up, but I can see on all sides we're actually connected. So I don't know why. If If it was a network thingy, we would not be able to see this other connection here because most of the times to see the comments on StreamYard, it's actually hard. It's hard to see the comments on StreamYard. So, okay, I guess our guest is here right now. Mm, our guest is right here. Let's get the stream. Okay. Hello. Welcome on board.
Hi, how are you? Can you hear me?
I'm good. Mm. Yeah, I can hear you
Can you
loud
hear
and
me?
clear. That's fine.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I guess my streaming skills are still they still need to be fine-tuned. I didn't, I was looking at myself logging in and I thought you had to do something, but I just needed to scroll down and enter the studio. So I apologize
Okay.
for any delays or the hiccups was not on your part. I actually had to go on the Facebook feed on another device and saw that you were already on, and then I was like, let me just make sure I'm not doing anything
Oh,
wrong. Yeah. So
that's nice. Thank God for social media. And thank God that
yes,
you think that way. Some people would still not
yes.
think that way. So
I
it's
couldn't
even
believe
brilliant.
we've
We
already
are
been
here
on
to
for
get that from.
yeah, and you've been on for almost 12 minutes already.
Yeah.
So how have you been?
I've been great, and I've been prepping the people on the fact that I'm a product of the product, so they should not feel like, okay, the Our Pies is going to be talking about things that we've never really heard about, or we don't have any proof of anybody who has experienced it. So I was getting them to know that I'm a product of the product. I've experienced some of the things you told me, the few that I've put to practice because I've not put all of them. So when you get knowledge and you get information, you need to put it to practice to see the results. But sometimes we get information overload, information constipated, and we're not putting any to practice, so we don't see the results. So I was trying to tell them that a lot of things that you told me, just really, really, I mean, like any single person can use it. You've told me some of them, I've used them, and like I was saying, um, between 2019, 2020, and 2021, I my pay or my salary or whatever I get has not changed basically, but I've been able to invest more, take up more responsibilities. I've been able to save more, and of course, that was nothing that I knew about. So imagine me having the same amount of money, let's just say $100,000 every single month. And at some point between 2019, I couldn't save, I wasn't investing. But between 2020, which is strange because in 2020, there was a lot going on with the pandemic and all that. I've been able to save, invest, and do a lot more. You know, it's amazing. So I was telling them that, oh, they know me so they can relate. Because if I say it's work for me, then it's real. It's not a scam. Like that. Hmm.
That's awesome. I'm
So,
glad I was
yeah.
able to make that kind of impact in your life. So
Oh, you
it's
did. You
always
did.
amazing.
And that's why I'm
You
sticking
give
to you
you
like
give
glue,
people
you know.
smiles and laughter all the time. So how about putting some in your life?
Oh, yeah, I know. So that's why I'm sticking to you like glue, you know. So, yeah,
All right.
that's what I was telling them before you came in. So maybe you're
Okay.
just going to tell them a little bit about who you are, and then the floor is all yours. I'm going to ask you a few questions, but I know you can flow because it's your thing. You know, when it's your thing, you just flow.
Let's see
So
if we're
maybe you
gonna
can just
flow
go
today.
ahead and tell them a little bit about who you are, and then we're just going to start.
Okay. So you want to do it or you want me to do it?
Okay, go on.
Okay.
I
So
think you're buffering for a moment there. Okay.
yes, I'm excited to be on your show. My name is Pius Awa, and I live in Houston, Texas. So welcome everybody, whatever part of the world you're joining us from. I've been in the financial industry for the last 10 years and basically helping educate people on how to build a strong financial foundation and teaching basic concepts and basic principles of building wealth, teaching people financial literacy. My company has actually been in the last 5 years on a campaign for financial literacy across North. But it's not only in North America that I'm sorry, I didn't plan for this.
Okay. I guess the sound has gone lower.
Can you hear
Oh yeah,
me?
it's back. Yes, yes.
Can you hear
Loud
me
and clear.
okay?
For a moment they actually went lower. Yeah,
Say
good.
something.
Yeah, that's good.
Can you hear
I
me
can hear
still?
you.
Okay, so
Yeah.
there was a call that came in and I think it knocked me off my mic. But if you can hear me, give me a thumbs up.
Okay. We can hear you
Okay.
loud and clear.
So I can't hear you though. Let me see. Hang on one second.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me as well?
Say something.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Okay, I can see your mouth moving, but
Hold on.
so just
I can hear you
bear with me
clearly,
one
but it looks
second.
like you can't hear me.
I'm not sure what happened here, but all right. So I've been basically teaching people, as you know, how to build a strong financial foundation, basic concepts of building wealth. And that's been the mission of our company in the last 5 years. And our goal, the company goal, is to, bring 30 million families in the next 10 years by 2030, financial literacy, okay, across the world. Financial literacy concepts are basically universal. So that's been the work that I've been doing. And I'm excited to be on the show today to share with your viewers uh, some little tips that they could implement or start looking into so that they could build a strong financial foundation for themselves, but more importantly, so that they could live a more financially fulfilling life and a more financial secure life. Okay, so it starts with financial literacy. And we're going to talk about literacy, financial literacy, some basic uh, things that we need to understand, which are universal. So most of the infrastructure that we deal with and teach about are in North America or maybe in Europe, but the concepts and the principles are actually universal. So it doesn't matter
Oh
where in the
yeah,
world you are, you could actually implement
I'm a
those
testimony.
things and be able to find some relief. So I'll pass it back to you. See if you have some questions. But just give me a second because I still can't hear you. Let me figure out what is going on. Okay.
Okay, that's fine.
I'm sure your guests can hear you, so but I can't.
We all can hear you. Not sure if you
Uh,
can hear us.
mute
Hope you
it.
can figure that out. I hope you can figure that out. Okay. So just like he said, the principles are actually the same everywhere. There's some basic things that would really be like just the American system, not America and all that. But the principles are actually basic and everybody can get it right. So we're bringing him back into the stream again.
Okay.
Okay.
So
Can you hear me now?
5 on 5. So I'm just
Good.
gonna not
Okay.
use my.
That's
Am I clear enough?
okay.
Okay. So I'm not going to use the microphones because when if something happens, then it knocks it off the microphone and I can't hear you. So
Oh, that, yes, that's why. Okay, so just like we're saying, we're going on, and he's going to be giving us, just want to get this because we don't want to keep you all here like forever. So we're just going to be telling you when people hear about financial literacy, like they'll be wondering, what are we talking about? What do you mean by financial literacy? So in basic terms, I'll be saying, please, can you help us define what that is? What is it about financial literacy? It sounds so posh. That's why I get it. So can you help us with some sort of definition so we can be sure what we're dealing with here? When people are going all around and saying it's financial literacy awareness month, what do they mean? Is it like you can just walk around during that month and you see money all around?
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. So what's financial literacy about? Like what, define it for us in the simplest terms so we can understand.
So let me give you some background on why we're even talking about financial literacy. So in uh, in 2004 in the U.S. Congress basically designated April Financial Literacy Awareness Month. And normally in the US, again, in April is when most people are required, the government deadline to file your taxes. So it's a time of the year where people want to make sure that they are right with their taxes. They get their tax refunds and stuff like that. So I'm not sure if it was a coincidence, but it's a time when most people think about what they're going to get back in tax returns, or they want to make sure that they pay their taxes. Okay, that's the deadline. But over the last 16 years, April is Financial Literacy Awareness Month. And to understand financial literacy, we must first understand what literacy is. So if you Google the word literacy, it says that it is the ability to read and write. Okay, but it's also
Okay.
there's always a connotative and a denotative meaning for most words or phrases. So it also means having competence or knowledge in a specific area. Okay, so you could say, for example, that you are pretty uh, you are you are a vlogger, a video blogger, and you have some competency in that area because you've done that for some time and you've taught yourself the basics on how to do it. You're probably better at it than somebody like me getting into it. I'll have to learn some basics, how to set up, be effective, keep my audience interested, find topics and stuff like that. It's also the same kind of understanding we have when you say you are complete computer literate. You have the basic skills to operate and use a computer productively for any task that you may want to use and
Yeah.
be productive and achieve your goal. Okay, so if you were not computer literate, you could not, even if you had the best computer in the world, you could not effectively use it to be productive and do something good with it, right? So when you add literacy or behind a word or in front of a word, you're talking about having competence in that specific area of that word. So, what is financial literacy? Because we go to school, we can add and subtract. We have a job or business, we can count money. Uh, and everybody understands that, hey, to, to become well to do, you have to make a lot of money. So, uh, by some kind of uh, assumption, people think that they are financially literate because they can count money. They know how much money is a lot of money, and when you don't have it, you feel it, right? But financial literacy actually means having competence in in managing your personal finances in an effective way, making proper decisions in saving, investing, and in building your wealth so that as you advance in life, you accumulate more, and you can, become self-sufficient financially at some point in time in your future. Because most people start life like anything we do. We go to school, we get out of school, we find a job, and we start building our lives. And building our lives depend on how financially well to do we are.
Okay, do you hear me?
And can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we're okay. We're back.
Yeah.
It was buffering for a
So so building your life, say from after school to your working years, starting a family, and retirement. What is the goal? To be able to retire after having worked 30, 40 years, retire with financial security. So retire in a way where you don't have to worry about money. And that cannot be achieved just by winging it. It can only be achieved by understanding and having the basic fundamentals, and understanding the concepts that you have to practice and apply so that you can achieve financial security. So financial literacy is basically having the knowledge or the skills to manage your personal finances in a way that they'll grow, they are protected, and they are preserved for your loved ones or for yourself in the future.
Oh, that's nice. That's a nice one. I like the way you put it. So everybody's just gonna say, "Oh, because I can add money because my dad gave me money yesterday, and I know how much it is, I know how much is in my bank account. I know my brother gave me money from 2 months ago, and I can add it up, and I know how much I have right now. So I'm financially neutral. Thank God. Okay, thank you for that beautiful and very simple and straightforward definition there. So, are there some particular key concepts that we need to know about, we need to get to know, that will help us to be able to go through the process of the financial literacy stuff we're getting about? Hi, Vienna. Hi, Awesome Praise. Welcome on. But you all share us out so many more people can come here and learn. Money, money, money. We're talking money. So there's some key concepts we need to know about that would help us get this right and get our finances right. Because the goal, just like you said, is actually being knowledgeable about something and getting the concept right to achieve a goal. So our goal here in all is that we want to get a financially stable future. We're going to be saying that almost all the time. Like, you want to get a financially stable future. What do you need to do? What are the things you need to put in place? So are there some of those concepts that you want to tell us
Absolutely. That's a great question. So of course, again, just like any specific area that we may want to get some basic competence in, right? Financial literacy, finance is no different. Okay, so you can't make money or build wealth without understanding uh, certain concepts about building wealth. Okay, so um, at our company, we actually teach these concepts, and they are broken down into 4 workshops. But I'm going to talk about uh, some basic things that people need to understand, and stuff like that. First, you have to learn it. For most people, they assume they already know it, and they try to do certain things and they're doing it wrong. Uh, there are basic concepts, basic principles that we must have to understand. The first one um, would be, how do you build your financial house, for example? So
it's
what
not
goes into,
buffering on my laptop as I can see.
yeah,
It was
can you hear
buffering
me
at
okay?
some point. Were you getting me?
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. So
Okay.
like anything, you want to start building your financial house from a foundation up, and you have to understand concepts like financial foundation. You have to understand concepts like time value of money, wealth formula. Uh, you have to understand your tax rates, your interest rates in your local area, how to find a better rate of return. Um, you have to understand the institutions in your area, the financial infrastructure. So uh, you have to look at all these things, which are basic things that surround understanding of money. Okay. Uh, some things are actually behavioral. You have to understand the impact of debt to your ability to build wealth. So if you have a lot of debt, you're not going to build wealth. But the most important place to start is your financial foundation. So you're buffering. I'm not sure if the audience can hear me, but I'll keep talking until you come back. Okay. So to build wealth or to have financial literacy, we must have a basic understanding of how money works. We must be able to understand rate of return. You know, our basic things like compound interest. Are we getting compound interest when we save money? Or are we getting simple interest? You have to also understand the rate of return. There's a difference between actual return and average rate of return. So those are little technicalities. You must understand, like I said, taxes in your area, the rate of interest that you're getting, where you save your money, the kind of places that you save your money in, whether they are taxed later or they are never taxed, and all those things. So that's where you start. Okay, understanding how money works, wealth formula, financial foundation, time value of money. Now, why are those important? Because if you don't understand a simple concept like time value of money, which I will define, it's it's a concept that basically says that $100 in hand today is worth more than $100 in your hand 1 year from now, right? So if you don't understand that,
Yes.
a lot of us from our African extraction, right? Immigrants, even here in the United States and elsewhere in the world, where we in the diaspora, where most of us are, we still do things like Njangi. Okay, Njangi is basically crowdfunding one
Mm,
person, right? So when you do Njangi and you're the first one to, for lack of a better way, and you chop the Njangi first, uh, you are
yeah,
at an advantage,
you're better.
okay, because you invested a
Mm-hmm.
hundred dollars and maybe you right off the back that day you got 11 other people that gave you $100. So your $100 becomes $1,200 and you can go invest it. The person that picks last 1 year from now actually lost 12 months that they could have invested that $100 and and
Oh,
uh and made some money. So when you look at the time value of money concept, a year from now he may have a $1,200 and he's happy that he just picked the Njangi, but he doesn't realize that he just lost 12 months where he could have been
mm,
investing $100 every month for 12 months at 5%. He would have been way ahead of $1,200 at that point in time. So when you start looking at that,
yeah,
you start
yeah,
realizing that I cannot just do Njangi because it's what my parents did, it's what our culture does. I have to apply some of the knowledge that I'm learning, understanding that I have to look for a better way where I can be putting my $100 every month and getting some interest so that at the end of the year, I have contributed $1,200. By the end of the year, each month, each $100 that I put in was adding into my account, on which interest was also adding. So I have more than $1,200. Okay, so that's why it's important to have some literacy, and in this case, understanding time value of money changes the way we understand and start applying that and building wealth. And that's just one little example. Okay, uh, there are other things like foundation. Should you invest the first thing? And this is a tricky one because back home, uh, in Africa, in most parts of sub-Saharan Africa or uh, developing world, the financial infrastructure is not advanced enough to provide all the tools that we may need to actually
Point.
do the things that we want to do. Okay. So before you go to invest, you have to ask yourself, are you the right person to invest? Have you taken care of the foundation of this financial house that you're building? So, what becomes the foundation of your financial house? So, imagine, Princess, you get up and you come and you animate us with smiles and laughter every day and inspiration, right? And that is, if, let's say doing that is what your family depends on for livelihood. Your ability to wake up every day and come and do that is is the only is one of the most important reasons that you do it. If you are not able to wake up and do that, people don't get smiles, you don't get paid, and your family is not able to be sustained, right? So you have to protect that ability for you to get up and go to work every day, which is your financial foundation. So you have to protect yourself. If you are not able, if you're not here tomorrow because of sickness, disability, or death, would your family continue to get the things? That is how you put a foundation. Now, once you've protected yourself, you can start looking at how much debt do I have and what am I doing to reduce the debt? How much emergency fund do I have? And how long can I sustain my family if hardship hits, job loss, sickness, family problems, pandemic, all that kind of stuff? And then where am I investing and how am I investing? So am I investing in a place that gives me some protection, gives me some growth, gives me some tax advantages, and gives me some safety? Or am I just investing where there's a lot of risk? You know, so you have to follow that. So those are some concepts that we need to understand to be able to start that journey. And once we get those fundamentals, then we are on our way towards financial literacy as we apply it and revise it over time. Can you hear me? Hello?
Really nice. I really love the explanation about time value of money because when we look at it, we start breaking out a little bit because it just looks like we're looking at $100 or $100,000. It's like it's the same every time, but it's really not the same every time because um, I used to remember how sometimes like we could use like 100 francs and buy a whole lot of things, and then at some point you're looking at 100 francs and you can barely get anything. Or you can use $100 and you go shopping and you buy a whole lot, and then you're looking at $100 and you get into a store or the same shop, like it's not changed, but every other thing in there is like crazy expensive, and you can just get just one or two things with $100, and you ask, what happened? But that time passed. So that one is really a great one. And then you said something about so the foundation is me, like because it has me doing all these things. It has me taking care of all of these things. How do I now protect myself? Like, what are the kinds of things I need to do to protect myself? Oh, my line is breaking. Welcome, Ma'am Faith. Welcome, Ma'am Vienna. She says great knowledge there. And my line is breaking. Can you all hear me?
Better now. It
Can
was
you all
cutting
hear me?
up when it,
If you can,
now you're doing okay when you looked into
it's okay
the
now.
screen. Yeah. Try to lean forward a little bit.
Okay.
I'm sure it's gonna be better.
Is it better now? Can you hear me clearly? Oh, okay. Okay. So I was saying, like you mentioned something about us being the foundation of the whole of this financial literacy stuff. So, and you mentioned us protecting ourselves. So, what are the kinds of things we can do to protect ourselves? Does it mean You just make sure you don't get sick. Like, even if that is supposed to be, so what do you do to make sure that you get to be fine? You have to be able to do all the other things that you
That's a great question. But before I answer that question, I want to touch on something that you said right before that, right? The fact that
mentioned.
you take $100 today and you go and you can't buy the same amount of stuff that you bought last year with it, right? That is also a key
Yes.
aspect of the fundamentals of understanding how money works. Okay, for a lot of us, we don't actually think about that seriously. What just happened is that the cost of living went up, and the question becomes: is our income going up at that same rate? So if you go to the store today with $100 and you can't buy the same things that you bought last year with $100, it simply means that the cost of living has gone up and maybe your income has not kept up. It means that you are actually going in the opposite direction of inflation. So when you are saving money, you have to think about, first, I have to find a rate of interest that will at least keep up with inflation so that my money doesn't reduce value. It follows that same concept of time value of money. The reason $100 is more valuable to you now than 1 year from now is because 1 year from now, the inflation would have gone up, which means the value of $100 would have reduced. So we have to think about, and it happens all the time. Every year, the cost of living goes up all across the world. Okay, so
Oh yeah.
you have to know exactly how you are saving, how you are earning. Is your income increasing proportionate to inflation? Inflation is called the silent killer. If you don't pay attention to it, even if you are saving money and you're not paying attention to the rate of return, your money may actually be reducing because it's not keeping up with inflation. So you may be looking at $10,000 in your account and being happy in the bank. 1 year from now, if you actually look at the true value of that $10,000, it went down because maybe the interest you're getting from the bank did not even keep up with inflation. So I just wanted to bring that up because you brought that. It's one of the most important things to understand, which maybe I did not highlight in those preliminary concepts. But as far as foundation is concerned, right? Uh, what we call a financial foundation is the structure in which you have to start building your financial house. You have to look at what, just like a house, you have to build your financial house from the ground up. So you have to protect yourself. Protection is also synonymous with insurance. Okay. So, and again, that's where infrastructure comes into play. So, for most sub-Saharan African countries, you know, the insurance industry is not that robust. In in certain parts of the world, they are actually, sub-Saharan Africa is actually considered a high risk zone. So if you travel there or live there, they will not even insure you because you could die of anything, whether it's disease, war, stuff like that. So it's a high risk area. And because of that, the protection industry, the insurance industry, at least for things like protecting your life, is not really robust because life expectancy is very low. So elsewhere in the world, in developing parts of Asia and the West, the insurance industry is in fact the largest and most robust part of the financial industry because life expectancy is longer. People want to protect themselves and their assets. So if you have access to this infrastructure, one of the things that you could do is sit down with somebody that is knowledgeable in the insurance industry and put proper protection for yourself. Okay, and we teach about how do you calculate proper protection. So, Princess, how do you protect yourself? So how
That was going
much
to be my next question.
protection do you how do you
Yeah.
know how much is enough and stuff like that?
You,
Okay, there is a science to it. So even out here where people have the right infrastructure, they still make a big mistake with how much protection they get. So I'll give you a simple example that we use here all the time. If you buy a house in the US, most times you have to borrow money to buy the house. Very few middle income people, in fact, absolutely zero middle class person buys a house cash as we do elsewhere in the world. Like back home, you build your house from the ground up. Okay. Here you have to borrow money and buy the house. So you own a debt while you're living. And one of the first things that the banks ask is a life insurance policy to protect that debt in case you die before you finish paying the house. They don't want they don't want to lose their money or have to be forced to take back the house and sell it at a loss because you passed away or you became sick and you are unable to pay your mortgage. Okay, which is what people pay. Mortgage is the note on your house. So when you borrow that money and you are paying every month back to the bank, you pay a mortgage. And sometimes you pay for 15, 20, maybe 30 years before you
every
now own the house. So if you bought a house for $100,000, you cannot tell the bank that, oh, I'm going to buy insurance for this house for 50, because if you die, they still have to make up the other 50 to pay up for the house. So apply that to yourself. When you go to put proper protection, what are you protecting? You are
payment.
protecting your income. You are protecting any debt that you have. You are protecting your mortgage if you have one. And you're also protecting the fact that if you have children, you want them to have a good college education, right? So most people just go and they, they buy the cheapest insurance and the smallest amount because they don't understand what they are protecting. Now, if you make $100,000 a year, you own a $200,000 house, you have three
Like,
kids, and you plan to send them to a good university, and
mhm.
maybe you have some debt, student loans, or whatever, as most of us have out here, you have to that is what you are protecting. If you become sick, you get one of these crazy diseases that you're sick for 6 months, or you become disabled. Maybe you get an accident or you catch something and you can no longer function. You actually need medical care to sustain your life. Or God forbid you pass away. Your family will lose that $100,000 that you make a year. Okay? If your kids are young, your spouse may not be able to take care of them. They'll have to deal with the loss of a spouse. They have young kids. Maybe they'll have trouble with their work. They may not be able to afford to pay the house loan. They may not be able to afford to pay your debt. And what are you saying? Your kids may have to struggle and borrow money to go to college because they lost your income. So when you want to protect yourself, you have to think about what it is that am I protecting. I want to protect my income. $100,000 for how many years? 10 years at least. Okay, so $1 million. If you owe if you owe a $200,000 mortgage, you want to factor in that mortgage, 200,000, or you can split it between your spouse 50-50. Okay. If you have $30,000 in student loan debt, you want to add that. So we are 1.2 million and 30,000. Okay. You have three kids and you want to send them to you want them to have a good college education, and you are estimating that in the US, the average price for uh, a public college, public university, is about $17,000 a year. So if you have three kids, is what? 4 years college, rounded up to 20,000, is 60,000 times three, which is $180,000. And if your kids are still young, you have to apply inflation. By the time their college age, that amount would be way more than that. So if you add all that up, you're looking at, if that's you, you need at least $1.5 million dollars in protection, because that is the dollar sign on your head. That's what you go out every day to work for. So you may be making $100,000 a year, but really what you are worth is $1.5 million dollars, because if you are not here, that's what your family needs to survive for the next 10 years, and for your kids to be able to go to college, for them not to be kicked out of the house. Okay, so that's how you calculate that, and that's what you should do. Now, what does somebody who does not have the luxury of this do? Uh, they don't have the infrastructure. You have to save. I know that there are credit unions, and you have to look for the possibilities and stuff like that. Uh, Maybe you work for a company that has the ability for you to get some life insurance. Now, how it doesn't matter if you can get a little, it's better than having nothing. Okay, so don't say that I have to get $1 million, and since I cannot get $1 million, I won't get anything, because a little may mean that they don't have to borrow money to pay for your funeral. You understand? So uh,
Yeah.
e- so that's
Yeah,
financial
go ahead.
foundation for
Get
you.
it anyway. Oh, that's nice. Oh yeah. So like you said from the beginning, a lot of us, especially in Africa, well, like when they talk about insurance, we're always just thinking like, just take the least possible one, you know. At least you're insured, you know. We really don't take into consideration what we're worth, totally the debt, the mortgages, student education, and all those things. We basically don't think like right far there, and that's what makes the difference between you being literate financially and someone who just has it like, it's important to get insured, to get your life insured. So yeah, let me just do it. Like you don't have the understanding that it reduces the burden on your family, like you just said. Like my family is going to be free from the financial burden. They're not only going through emotional burdens, they're also going through financial issues because I didn't get myself insured. Okay, so that's a nice one there. And then you mentioned something about, so like you said, in the areas where the structures are not available, what can people do? There are some places where it's available, like in beach, like you said. So if you have that possibility of getting the very little one, get it. But what about places where they're not just available? What are the options? What are the other options that we can use to be able to build our financial future? Welcome, Bus Life Online. Thank you, Faith, for writing down. Yeah, taking notes is very important. They say that a very tiny pencil is better than the sharpest brain. So, yeah, it's good to take notes. I'm taking notes too. So, what can you do in areas where you don't have this insurance policies or they're not really available? What are there some other alternatives you can use?
Yes, so you could look. Most banks can work something out. Some credit unions may have some stuff. What I know that most most like if you work for a foreign company or a multinational, they usually have certain features in their employee benefits that may give you access to those things, because those companies have expatriates that come from overseas to work in our local areas, right? And those expatriates need those protections. So I remember a long time ago, my older brother worked for Standard Chartered Bank, and they had health insurance from Standard Chartered Bank in Cameroon, for example. Okay, so and I know that they don't only offer like health insurance, they offer like life insurance too. So sometimes where you work, uh, even if you work for the civil service, you can look into that. So then you may find something that is tailored to the area. They may be offering There are insurance companies that do like property and casualty insurance, which is insuring your cars, buildings, and stuff like that. There are a lot of those. But understand that a car may have an accident or a building may be burned down, but those are not things, they are not like humans, right? We could get sick anytime because of the nature of healthcare, and life expectancy in most sub-Saharan African countries, for example, or parts of the third world, is really, really low. So people die a lot early. And the whole concept of
Yeah.
insurance is longevity, more people participating. But I think that if people start asking those questions and looking for those products, then the industry is going to adapt. And but I know that you can find something. Whether it doesn't matter what insurance company it is, just ask if they offer life insurance and what are the conditions, and see if you can qualify. Or check with your bank, check with your credit union. And if you absolutely cannot find anything, and then you have to understand that you have to save a little bit more. You have to have multiple sources of income, and you have to acquire assets that you can transfer to your family, and make sure that if you build houses, for example, or you have land that you inherited or you can buy, right? You make sure that those assets are in your name, and that you have a will to transfer those assets to the next generation. So if you can build rental property, or maybe just have, like, say, farmland, and you have a
Yeah.
title to that property, and you make your spouse uh the you put your spouse, the beneficiary, in your will. You must have those things, and they are easy to do. You can just go maybe to the council or find a lawyer and pay for a will. All the will says is that if anything happens to me, my spouse or my children inherit my property. That way, no family members come and start fighting, and the family can keep your assets and convert those assets either into cash, or use the assets to be able to maybe pay the kids' school fees, and live off of. So I don't know if the audience can still hear me, but it seems like we lost Princess. Anyway, so let's see if she's going to come back. So there are that for audiences that are not in the third world, one of the biggest problems I find that even for people who are exposed to this infrastructure out in the diaspora, still don't take full advantage of it. Okay, and they don't approach it from a, a literate standpoint. They still approach it from a from an illiterate standpoint, so they underutilize it, or they get the wrong things. So while we may be talking about places where uh, people really need help because of the infrastructure, I think the biggest problem is a lot of Africans in the diaspora who are exposed to good places where they can get proper protection. They don't even want to talk about insurance, Clayton. They're afraid that, oh, they don't want to buy it because they don't want somebody to kill them and take the money. You don't buy insurance because you're afraid somebody will kill you. You buy it because you love your family. You understand? So I joke all the time
Oh, yeah.
that, yeah, I joke all the time when I talk about this to my clients. I say, you know what? I If I can get more, I want to get more, because I actually want that if something were to happen to me, my wife can choose the next guy that she wants to marry, not because she needs money, but because she can choose. Because I don't want her to go marry somebody because she needs help, and that person comes and is abusing my kids, is beating my kids up because he's the one paying their bills and stuff like that. So I don't care if I get killed. You understand? Which I know I will not. And if you do it right, you are doing it for your family, right? So your spouse knows, and hopefully they are doing the same thing. If I'm married to you and I have
Oh, yeah.
insurance, I'm protecting you. You understand? So you should have one to protect me. And that way, nobody feels threatened. You understand? And of course, uh, does it happen?
Yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
but we don't have to focus on the negative. But I don't know. I've been in the industry for 10 years. I don't know of any cases that somebody got
Bring first.
killed because of an insurance policy and made away with the money. You know, they those it's just tricky like
That's
that. But
unfortunate.
you do it for love. You don't do it for to make money. And then there are different,
Yeah,
some people may not qualify
fear or
because
the
they
other
are
thing.
sick and all that stuff. So you have to look at, I know people who want it and they can't afford it because when they could afford it, they didn't think it was important. So while we talk about
Yeah.
where there's no availability of the infrastructure, we should think about where the infrastructure is. Are the people there actually utilizing it properly? Which is why I'm excited about our financial literacy because I can teach these things and help people understand how to make the right decisions.
Oh yeah. Okay, so I wanted to something you just said a while ago. I also wanted to ask something about time. So basically, when is the right time to start getting insured? Is it when you're mid-age? Some people say things like, "Oh, when I'm about this age, I'll start." Just keep doing a start. So when is the right time to start? Is there really a right time to start? You know, is there really a right time to start? Like, if there is, when is that time?
Okay. So as we're preparing for this, right? I sent you a video about a 22-year-old who was giving a testimonial
Yeah,
of how when they learned what they learned, their parents had set up $250,000 of protection for them.
telling
And
you,
when they realized
change.
how powerful it was, they went and got more on their own, right? So that 22-year-old doesn't have a family yet, but she thinks that she's going to have a family in future, and she's preparing ahead of time. Okay. She also has emergency fund, and she has money invested already, and she's building her financial house like somebody that's educated. So when do you start? You want to start as soon as possible. In fact, if you don't have it today and you're listening to this, figure out how you need to get one, because tomorrow it's going to be more expensive. Tomorrow you may not be able to qualify because you have a pre-existing condition. Okay, so it's one of those things that they have to check your health. But if we start when we are younger, one of the things is that for younger people, they are healthier, so they qualify easily. And maybe I didn't talk about this. You cannot just go buy insurance, right? For the insurance company to sell you insurance, they have to make sure that you are insurable, which means that you insurable means that you are healthy. They can protect you. They can take the risk of saying that, hey, princess, you're going to be paying us $50 every month. And if anything happens to you, we're going to pay your family $1 million. They have to know that Princess does not have cancer and is going to pass away in 3 years and would have only collected 3,000, and then we pay her family $1 million, right? They want to know that Princess
Yeah,
can live long. Okay. So they
yeah,
also want to know that there are many of you that think the same way, so that they're not only going to be collecting your $100, they'll be collecting $100 from a million other princesses who who have the same mindset. And that's how it works. So you have to start early because it's easy to qualify because you're more healthy. And even some young people may not qualify because sickness and disease doesn't pick how old you are. But generally, younger people are more healthy. Cost of insurance is lower. So by the time you are older, you'd have built up enough of coverage. If you choose um, if you choose a policy that has money in it, that also grows money for you. As if you start early, then you build up enough what we call cash value in the policy to be able to pay the cost of the policy in later on in life. But
yeah.
it doesn't matter where you are. Today is the best day to get it. Tomorrow it's going to be just difficult. But for people listening and want to know when is the best time, when you are younger. So if you have a job and you think I don't make enough money, make sure that you have a strong foundation, because you may be thinking that you don't make enough money, but if something happens to you, even that little that you were making will not be there. But if you had a little protection, that may be the difference between whether you get care or you change your family's life.
That's nice. So you can hear the very very best time was yesterday, and the next best time is today. So if you don't have it, if you've not had it before, the next best time is today. And what best way to get to Mr. Our Pious is the man who can make it happen. I already gave you guys my testimony, so I'm not just talking here out of the blue. I'm talking based on what I am experiencing, what I've experienced, and how it's working for me. So if he's saying that, then it's really, really something you need to look into. And of course, in I'm not sure if it's under this video, but I'm still going to put it there. His contact details, his website. You can click on there and get to make an appointment, book an appointment, and it's going to tell you how to start. Because sometimes, so let's just say someone doesn't have it. So what are the things the person is supposed to look into when they want to start? So oh my, that work. Can you all hear me? Anybody still here? You're still here. Welcome, Boss Life Online. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you, Faith. Faith, we have a discussion, right? About something we're supposed to do. My little niece and I, Faith, were supposed to do something and it was mentioned in this live stream. So I'm telling her that I hope she remembers. And it's all in the bid to get a financially stable future. So say what about people who have you said something about you said something about you want more, like you've already done it and you want more. Are there really possibilities like that people can get to get more? They already had, but maybe they didn't have it right. So is there a possibility, other possibilities of achieving? Maybe I insured myself based on that with that wrong mindset of get as little as you can, get the smallest, the tiniest protection that you can, not knowing that it's all what I want, like with the debts and everything and all that. So is there a way you can actually change from what you have to something else? You know,
Yes. So definitely you can always get more as time goes on. So for a lot of people, especially young people, right? They start with a
yeah.
little, and and
Okay.
and they build as their responsibilities build. So if you're a single person, uh, you may not you may not need a whole lot, because you're saying I don't have a spouse, I don't have kids, it's just me. But you also have to be thinking about, do you have siblings? Do I have parents who look up to me, who educated me? Do I have extended family that I help from time to time? So because you are single doesn't mean that you don't need protection, because there are still people that depend on you that will lose the help or support, both emotionally, physically, and financially, that you give if you are not there tomorrow. Now, the other thing is, we always talk about, when you look at protection or insurance, most people think about
Mm-hmm.
dying. But the problem is, what if you are a young person and you were struck by
Big.
disease? Who pays for your care if you are young and you are sick and you are disabled for the rest of your life? You will need somebody to pay for your care. So if you had gone out and set up something, that could be what keeps you maintaining your quality of life, because you don't have to depend on your parents, your siblings, and your quality of life doesn't have to go down just because you were hit by sickness. So it's not only about uh, uh, dying, it's about living. You understand? So it's but you can definitely increase it. And one of the ways to know whether you need more is by doing constant checkups. Okay, so you have to always uh, just like going to the doctor and having your annual checkup, you have to do your financial checkup at least once every year or once every 2 years at least. to know. And when if you do that, let's say you were single and you had a small policy, now you are married and you have a child, and you go back for your review, they'll say, oh, well, now you are married, now you have a child, we need to increase this because your responsibilities have increased. You understand? And because you went for that checkup, now you know. You could have been sitting and thinking that, oh, I have protection because I had it when I was single, or my parents set up one for me when I was a child. That may not be enough now that you are a family person. And then, of course, uh, you may go on to have more children and the need for more protection as you go on, or you may go into business, have more assets that need to be protected. You understand? So we are not only protecting our life, but we're protecting what we have built. So but yes, you can add it. Another way is make sure that you save and invest too. So saving and investing is also one of the things that we teach. Once you put the protection, you build an emergency fund, you reduce debt, you have to put money to work for you. So if you put money to work for you, it will complement, the protection, and you'll be building assets as
Yeah.
well that could be used later on in life. So
Oh, that's so beautiful. We really wouldn't want to keep you here like so much. And there's some few people in the stream. I don't know if some people have questions. Just like we said, from time to time we're gonna pull Mr. Our Pious to come here and still talk to us again because not everybody's here today, and there are probably some things that he can add up. I remember when he started telling me about this, getting a financially stable future. He gave me like the simplest of things to do, but it was the most difficult thing to do in my entire life. Like I have to write down every little thing I spend every single day. I was like, you've got to be kidding me. And he was like, it's serious. It's that serious. That's how I started. So that's how I was able to know that, okay, this is how much I spend and this is how much I didn't need to have to wait to know how much I have to be able to save. I knew already how much I spend. Like within, he told me that it's based on me. It depends on me. I find out um, maybe how much I spend in a week or how much I spend in a month. Let it not be too long. But let me find out how much I spend in a month so I know because is it Warren Buffett who says um, spend what you have after saving, not save what you have after spending, something like that. I think he's the one who said that. So it felt like that's what I used to do. I used to just say, okay, I've already done this and this and this and this and that, and then whatever was remaining, I just save it, like that. But when I got to understand, like it was basically I would say the basic way of knowing what you're worth. That was the basic way of knowing what I'm worth. So I know that this is how much I spend for this is how much I spend for these bills, and all the very basic important things. I had to find out what they cost, how much I use for them, so that I know that even if I'm saving this amount, it's not dropping on. Because I started feeling like, oh no, he probably wants me to reduce what I eat, what I do this and all that. No, that was not the idea. The idea was to get me know how much I'm using for that so that I know how much. Like I'm saving my 10%. I'm not scared like, oh my god, I'm not going to be able to eat for the month. I'm not going to be able to do this and all that. No. I know that as much as I'm saving my 10%, I know I can pay all my bills, like light, water, all that. Those are the very, very basic and most important things you need to take in place. I mean, it was life changing because I never really used to think like that. I just do the things spontaneously. But now I can averagely tell you how much I spend in a month without really doing it and writing it down. But I tell you how much I spend averagely in a month because I know I just put this amount aside. This is for emergency. This is for feeding. This is for. I didn't do that before. I was not doing that before. And see the difference. Um, we are in a month, we're in a year where we've moved from one pandemic to the other. And so, of course, the inflation rate and everything is just crazy. So you can imagine. But rather, it seems to be the year that I'm investing more, saving more, taking much more responsibility, and I'm not complaining and I'm fine. Originally, if my responsibilities were going to be adding, I was going to be grumbling and getting ah, not another problem again. So it's really, really beautiful. We'll still have to bring the Our Pies on here again from time to time to give us more information. It's Literacy Awareness Month in North America, uh, the US as well.
Are you there? I think you froze. So, can the audience hear me? I think they can. So, we talked a lot about the foundation and all that stuff, but that's only the beginning of the journey towards financial literacy. And that's only the beginning of the journey of financial literacy. There are workshops that uh, we teach, as Princess said. You could join the workshops. You just need to get my contacts. And we start with simple things like increasing your cash flow and helping you get out of debt, teaching you a simple formula that you could use to reduce your debt and find some money that you're already making that's in your budget, but you're wasting. So, what you was just talking about, control your spending. Uh, Pay yourself first. Save first before you spend. Don't try to save after you spend. If you don't have anything to save, then
Okay,
yeah,
yeah,
I was just talking to the audience while you were reconnecting, and I was talking about some of the workshops that we teach, where people can
okay,
get a little bit more information. Because I know we dwelled a lot on basic concepts and the protection part, but that's only part of what constitutes financial literacy. You still have to talk about building wealth and asset accumulation. How do you build wealth? How do you put money to work for you? And what are you buying or accumulating as you go on in life? Are you picking up assets or are you picking up liabilities? What is an asset? An asset is something that puts money in your pocket. So something that is generating income for you would be an asset. So a lot of middle class people buy assets, they buy liabilities, think that they buy assets. So what is a liability?
ah,
Things that take money out of your pocket. So I know a lot of people back home who save up 4 or 5 years and they send the money to the States for a family member to buy them a car and ship. And they're excited that they have a car. And once that car is bought and shipped and they pay more to clear the car, yes, they have a means of transportation, they have a car, but that car will never be worth what was bought. It's not an asset because it depreciates over time. So they could have taken that money and invested it in something that would be generating income. Instead, they bought a liability and thought that they were buying assets because they feel good now, they have a nice ride, but that thing would depreciate. If they drive that car for 1 year, they will never make the money that they paid for the car. So we have to think about what are the things we are buying? Are they assets or are they liability? Now, if we have assets that are generating income, then we could pay for the nice things and know that, okay, we have money coming in. Okay. Then we talk about retirement planning. What are we doing for retirement? When you protect yourself and you are building assets, who is going to take care of you in your retirement? Those income generating assets will be the one funding your retirement because you will not be able to work. So, what do you do to plan for retirement? You need to know how and when to start. It's part of the financial literacy uh, training and application. So you have to, just like you asked Princess, when do you start protection? When do you start planning for retirement? Now. You cannot wait until you're near retirement before you start planning. And then there's something called wealth preservation, and it's something that plagues our community. I talked about it earlier. If you don't have ability to get proper protection and you have an ability to build assets, let's say you don't have any way of getting lump sum money and you throw Jangi, okay, you are the last person to pick and you've lost a year of interest rate and you still pick the money. What do you do with it? Do you now send that money to the States to buy a car and ship and instead lose more because that car will never appreciate? Or do you try to put that money, buy an asset that will be generating income and give you an ability to have more money coming in? And how do you transfer those assets? You have to have a will. Most of us don't have a will. Even in places where it's very easy to do, we don't have a will. A will could could mean that it saves your wife and children or your husband and kids the trouble of fighting with family members or other people that are trying to take your little assets because they feel like um, you the people your kids are not deserving of it. So all that is part of being financially literate. So if you have a strong foundation, let me put it this way: if you play sports, do you play sports, Princess?
Yeah, run like Speedy Gonzalez.
You run. Okay. It is running is
Very
not
athletic.
exactly a running is not exactly a team sport, except you run relays and stuff like that, right? Because you run by yourself. But if you play a
Yeah,
team sport like myself,
football.
if you play football, you have to have a strong offense and a strong defense, right? So you cannot only focus on your defense and you don't worry about the offense, or you focus on offense. So just like you have a strong foundation, you have good protection, you should also have strong investment and strong retirement, all of them going concurrently, because you cannot only focus on one and not the other. You have to focus on both. Okay, it's a concept that we also teach. It's called the X curve concept: protecting what you have today and also saving for your future. Okay, it's a very powerful concept. Maybe next time we'll talk about it. But the X curve is a blueprint, is the roadmap for everybody to use to plan, because it helps you assess what your responsibilities are today and what you need to protect. It gives you an idea of how much time you have and what you need to do to use that time effectively in saving so that you can achieve financial independence when you retire. Okay, your X curve can be this small or your X curve can be this big. It depends on how financially literate you are.
Standing next for my, me standing next for my responsibilities and dropping or increasing and I'm a good student. Your
Yeah,
responsibilities are dropping and growing while you're aging and all that. So, just like you said,
absolutely.
really, this is really great. Really, really grateful that he took out time to be here with us today. Just like you said, it's really, really broad. So you can still get him. I'm going to put the contact details right in the description box, and I'm also going to put the website and everything so you all can get to. If there are many more questions, you can ask me personally, or you can ask in the comment
Did
section
any
as
of the
well.
audience have a question?
Yeah, that's I don't know. Can you see the comments on your side? You see the comments?
No, I don't see the
Or
comments.
someone says I'm buffering. Oh, I don't
You're
know.
what?
Someone says I'm buffering. Someone says I'm buffering, so they probably are not hearing me. Or was it before? They sent this a long time ago, and Faith says I'm breaking. So I don't know if they're not getting me. or there.
Yeah, you go in and out. I can follow what you're saying, but sometimes when you lift your head back, you break up. So you need to like lean
You
forward
can hear.
when you, yeah.
Okay. So is anybody in the chat? Is there anybody who has a question? You want to ask a question? You can go ahead and ask your question. Like Mr. Awapa has already said, he's in the USA. He's in Houston, Texas. I think that's the same place with Boss Life Online. I think Boss Life Online is also in Houston, Texas. I think so. And no, Faith is not in Houston. Faith is in Arizona.
But
And
but
Ma'am Angela, I'm not sure where they are. So there are lots of people there. So I'm sure if they can get their questions through, I don't see anybody sending a question. Oh, so here it's kind of slower. Let me check on here to see if someone has sent a question. No, no question yet. I'm not sure. No one has sent a question yet, but I'm sure even if I'm buffering, I'm sure they're getting it. Is it okay to do a will online, or is it better to get a lawyer? That's one question.
that's a very good
Someone,
question. That's a
can you
very
hear
good
me?
question.
Yeah.
I can hear you. That's a very good question. There are a lot of tools online. Depending on where you live in the world, you can use the online tools. In most states, like in the US, you can use that online. You fill it. What it does is that it asks you questions, and then you fill the question, you answer the questions, and it's going to design your will for you. Okay, it's very, very effective because you may want to write a will, but you don't know exactly how to word it, what needs to be in your will. So when you use those online resources, they guide you with those questions, and then at the end, you have a comprehensive will. Okay, you can print it out and take it and notarize it, or if you are, say, uh, you do, I don't know how they do it, but you take it maybe to the and certify it with some legal authority. Now, if you are answering the questions and they become complicated, some of those softwares may suggest that you need to talk to an attorney because you have things that you may need other things to be added to your will. But if you are a simple person, you don't have mixed family, you don't have businesses, you don't have a lot of assets that are complicated, you just a regular guy like myself, you have kids, you have your work, and you just want to make sure that if something happens to me, that my wife doesn't run off with all the money and abandon my kids or take my kids away from my side of the family. I just write all that. She gets that. I want my kids to be able to see their grandparents, their aunts and uncles, and their cousins and stuff like that. And I take it to a notary and have the notary sign on it, and stamp it, and I put it in my safe. So if something happens to me, and I can make it available to some key persons, my spouse, my siblings, or whoever, so they know that I have a will. And if something happens to me, they can go to my will and see what it is that my wishes were. The important thing is that do something. And by the way, if you go see a lawyer, it's not that expensive. It's only expensive if it becomes complicated. Okay, so if you have a lot of stuff to put in the will, you may need a trust. You may be the kind of person that you want to make decisions when you are dead. So who gets what when? Okay, you may need a trust. A trust is something that it's a document that will ensure that your wishes are carried out exactly how you want it and when you want them, even after you are dead. So a trust keeps you basically alive even you are dead, and you continue to do things the way you want as you design in that trust. So it may be what you need, and that will require the need of an attorney. But yes, you can
Yeah.
use the will online. Just fill it up, print it, and make sure that you notarize it or you certify it and keep it in a safe place. it has to
Oh,
be, for it to be legally binding. In
you
some
need to be.
cases and some states, it has to be notarized. In others, some places, you just have to write it and keep it, and it'll be honored. You have to know what the laws obtain wherever you are.
Okay. Oh, Boss says, Boss Life Online says, thank you so much. I'll do it online. Very good information. Mine will be simple. Okay, that's nice. So,
Awesome.
is there any more
You want
questions?
to always keep it simple.
Yeah. Faith Achumbum says no questions for now, so they might eventually get questions. If you have questions, um, you can actually send them to me. Those who have my contact can send them to me, or you can just go online. Like I said, I'll put his website right under. I'll put the contact details, how you can get to him, and you can ask many more questions. And we're hoping that Mr. Alpayes is going to do us the honors to come again for another live session to tell us about investment policies. Okay, there's a book he's holding right on there, Saving Your Future. So I'm sure that's also available. People can get it, right? Basic Principles of Building a Financial Foundation. I'm sure people can get
So
that book, right?
yeah, so for those who are in continental US or Canada, they could have this. When you give my details, I could ship it out to them. It's proprietary. I don't think it's available for sale anywhere, but uh, I can make it available to you guys. But it's a must-have, must-read for every family, and I think uh, anybody that has it would have started their journey towards financial literacy because it, as it says, it has
Oh,
basic
yeah.
principles of building a strong financial foundation, and it captures all the concepts. It's the concepts of building wealth, those basic concepts that we need to have fundamentals in. It talks about uh, the X curve concept, which I talked about. It talks about understanding insurance, investment, retirement planning, and wealth
Wealth
preservation.
formula.
So, so it's a good must-have.
Yeah. I'm a favorite. I got mine. So you see, that's the good thing about being a real inspiration. You get a lot of bonuses and a lot of things that can change your life.
Next
But
time,
yeah, so for
next
all of you who have been on, okay, go on.
next time we
Next
should do
time,
a quiz. We should do a little quiz thingy, and maybe whoever attempts or gets a question
yeah.
right will get a gift, or will get a free book
Oh,
or something. So keep the
well,
audience exciting. So, or whoever
okay, that's
asks a
good. So
question,
everybody note that
since
down.
since people are shy asking questions. So if you ask a question,
Okay,
you get a special gift for asking a question.
you got a
If you
gift.
answer a question, you even
Okay,
get a
that's
better
good.
gift. So yeah.
Okay, that's good. So you can hear Mr. Our Paris is just lively and jovial like that. He seems physically the same. Like you talk to him one on one, the same. He's a very jovial and interesting person. So thank you so much for being here today. We're really grateful, and we are hoping to get you as many times as possible to come up on real inspiration. We've been inspiring people and all that, but we need them to get every area of their life balance, not just wealth, health, and all other areas. So we thought it wise to bring you on here, especially at this Financial Literacy Awareness Month. We're really grateful for the knowledge you brought to us, and of course, I'd add, it ain't gonna make any difference in your life if you don't put it to use. So it's not just about coming here and listening to all what he has said. You need to start now, putting it to use, and I'm sure it's definitely going to change your life. Do you have any last words? Not last words like you're going to, last words you
Uh,
want to say to the
well,
audience?
I'm out of words because I'm excited being on the show and helping in some little way to be part of Royal Inspirations. I hope somebody got inspired today. I hope I joined you in putting smiles in people's
Oh yeah, you can
faces.
see my smile. It's very bright.
Okay. And I want to commend you for the work that you do, and just whether it's enriching us spiritually or discussing topics that are relevant in our day-to-day lives, and bringing a guy like me to share with your audience. I really want to appreciate you and encourage you. Keep it up. The I can tell that you have a bright future. And finally,
Oh,
that for anybody listening, there are there's there's four things that most people worry about in America. Baseball is like the number one sport. Okay, and they say you can hit a home run, which means that you hit the ball outside the stadium, and if you don't run around and hit all your bases, that home run doesn't count. Okay, so uh, in what we're talking about, your basis for most people is their faith, their family, their finance, and their future. Okay, so you have to take care of your faith, spiritually, whatever you believe in. You have to take care of your family. You have to take care of your finances, your money. So you have to get uh, financially literate, and you have to take care of your future, whether it's living a healthy life so you live long, living a fulfilling life, becoming financially secure. If if you made a lot of money and you missed out and you hit a home run and you didn't cover any of those things, or you didn't cover all those things, you probably, your home run doesn't count. So that's my last word, and hopefully I can come back and share some more stuff next time. Thank you so much for having me. And bye, guys. I look forward to hearing some questions and to sending out some books.
oh yeah, they'll definitely do that. And some people have my WhatsApp number, so they might get me through that if I've not yet put the link. But I'm going to put it as soon as possible right under this video in the description box. And Boss Life says, yes, I got inspired to really go do my wheel. Okay. And he
Awesome.
says, thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing. And Faith says, my little niece says, that's right. Start putting into action what we learn. Okay. Thank you all, guys. As always, I always stay on real inspiration. I love you all so, so very much. But God loves you way, way more. Thanks, Mr. Umpires, for honoring my invitation, coming here to be a blessing and putting smiles on all our faces, especially mine as well. I'm really, really grateful. So it's here we're saying our bye. Bye bye.
Bye, guys. Thanks.
Looking
Have a
forward
good
to the
one.
next episode. Mwah.
Awesome.